Hi, I'm Michelle Adubato. The North Ward Center is committed to educating the public about the importance of community programs that give all New Jersey residents a chance for a better life. That's why we're proud to support the important educational programming produced by the Caucus Educational Corporation.
Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by TD Bank, Suez, ready for the resource revolution. Partners for Health Foundation, partnering to make our communities healthier, better places to live. The Russell Berry Foundation, ShopRite Supermarkets, the North Ward Center, and by Gary's Wine and Marketplace, creating an individual shopping experience for every guest. Promotional support provided by Observer New Jersey Politics. And by hipnewjersey.com. Live hard, work hard, play hard. You're from New Jersey, and so are we.
This is One-on-One. I'm an equal American just like you are.
The jobs of tomorrow are not the jobs of yesterday.
Look at this. You got this?
Here it is, man. Look at that.
Life without dance is boring.
When you first heard that they were doing Charlie Rose and Gayle King, didn't you go, what?
Do you enjoy talking politics?
No. People call me because they feel nobody's paying attention.
Our culture, I don't think, has ever been tested the way it's being tested right now.
Such a good question. High five.
Mom, do I have a Jewish heart? Of course you do, darling. We're Democrats. When my son was an infant, people would say, how could you possibly have a newborn and look this good? I told them it's really quite simple. I exercise every single day, eat only healthy foods, and he's adopted.
That's good stuff. And the star, the writer of this one-woman performance is right here. Monica Piper is star and writer of the Off-Broadway comedy Not That Jewish at the New World Stages, 340 West 50th Street in Manhattan. Good to see you.
It's good to be here.
Give us the premise, Not That Jewish. Where does it come from?
It comes from, as a child, well, we didn't belong to a temple when I was growing up.
Where?
In the Bronx.
Okay.
But actually, on the High Holy Days, my mother would make us dress up and stand in front of the apartment building so it looked like we just got home from temple.
As if you had gone.
As if we had gone. She played it. Lovely service. She played it. But I had a little neighbor, 7 years old, just like me, who said, did you really go to temple? And...
Did you have guilt?
I had a little guilt. I did.
I'm Catholic. We have it too. So.
We have that in common, right?
Yes, we do.
We have that in common. But I just, she said, well, you're not really Jewish. If you don't go to temple on Rosh Hashanah, you're not really Jewish. Yes, I am. How? If you don't go to temple. I said, my mommy and daddy and aunts and uncles and grandmas and grandpas are Jewish. Well, okay, I guess, but you're not that Jewish.
Not that Jewish?
I had no idea what that meant. What does that mean to be not that Jewish? So I asked my father, what does that mean? And I asked my mother, and I asked my grandmother, and they all give me different ideas that there's no such thing, basically. You're Jewish or you're not. And my grandma says what's important is that you got a Jewish heart. So I guess my life is an exploration kind of what does it mean to have a Jewish heart. And when I adopt a child, and I decide it's important to raise him as a Jewish man, and I'm not even sure why.
You define what that means, by the way.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Well...
What does it mean to raise him as a, quote, Jewish man?
To have certain qualities of what I thought my grandmother meant as someone having a Jewish heart. And through the course of the show, we realize that I'm talking about humor and doing good deeds and being compassionate and being accepting. And at the end, I realized you don't have to be Jewish to have those things. You see, there's a little crisis at the end because he tells me that he's not really Jewish. After I've spent that entire part of my adulthood trying to raise a Jewish man.
Not Jewish.
And he says, Mom, I'm not Jewish. And I go, what are you talking about? Of course you're Jewish.
But hold on, but the clip we just saw Monica, you said, of course we're Jewish, we're Democrats. You have
That's
to be
what
Democrat to have that hard? You know how many Republicans watching right now are going, wait a minute, you just offended us. Not your intent.
I am sorry.
Not your intent.
Not my intent to offend anybody.
It's just humor.
No, I'm telling you what, from my parents' point of view, because they were union people.
Oh, really?
I
wouldn't know anything about what you're talking about.
But anyway, one thing that you need to know about this show is you don't have to be Jewish to love the show, because it's really not...
It's not inside?
Not at all. It's about, I mean, it deals with really universal things. It deals with family. It deals with the love of the family. It deals with a single woman deciding, first of all, to become a comedian.
That's right. And your dad was a comedian?
My dad he was a very funny man. He was actually, he called it a vocal pantomimist. He did record act. He lip synced to popular records, adding funny physical shtick. But what I think a lot of especially the women will take away, but it's not a chick show, guys. You'll like it. The men end up laughing more than the women half the time, but they're all laughing. But it deals with a single woman going into kind of a man's world of comedy where, you know, very few women were doing stand-up when I started doing it. And then a single woman adopting.
How about a single woman dealing with an illness?
And a single woman, well, I think
is that a big part of it?
Many women in the audience can relate to being diagnosed with cancer, but my take on it was I had cancer in a teenager at the worst time. I mean, at the same time, so obviously the cancer's worse, but I actually said to a friend, I know, but I actually said to a friend, do you know anyone else where cancer might not be the worst thing in the house? That's how bad my teenager was for a year. But he's great now.
I love how you're playing to that camera right now.
I'm sorry.
You can find a camera anywhere, can't you?
I'm sorry.
Don't apologize. I like how you do it. Were you born to perform?
I think so. But I was born to perform because my father's one of the funniest men on the planet, so I was born with very funny parents.
They're funny genes.
Funny genes. My mother was had a different sense of humor, very clever, very dry. You know, Mom, guess what? I'm an actress. That's fabulous. What are you in? Well, I don't have a play or a movie or a series or anything, but I'm an actress. You know, sweetie, that's such a coincidence because I'm a queen. I just don't happen to have a country, you know, but...
Very dry.
Very dry, very sarcastic, whereas my father was shticky. Yes. But I was born to perform, but I didn't... My mother was the practical one who said, you must get an education, you must... So I was a high school English teacher for a long time. I started in Yonkers, teaching right here.
I bet you're taking all those experiences. And if you don't mind, I'm going to plug the play again. It is called Not That Jewish, and you could be Italian American, you could be you could be from anywhere.
Anywhere.
It doesn't matter. It's called Not That Jewish, and Monica Piper is the star of this one-woman performance.
And writer.
And look at you plugging. New World Stage is 340 West 50th Street, over on the west side of the island of Manhattan. I want to thank you for joining us on One-on-One.
Thank you
Public
so
Television.
much.
We appreciate it. Stay right there.
So much fun. Thank you.
It was great. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
I will.
Right after this.
To watch more One-on-One with Steve Adubato, find us online and follow us on social media.
We are pleased to welcome, for the first time here on Public Television with us, Susan Scherreik, who is founding director, Center for Entrepreneurial Studies, Stillman School of Business at the great Seton Hall University. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Steve. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so delighted to be here today.
It's our pleasure. Describe the Center for Entrepreneurial Studies and the essence of being an entrepreneur.
Well, we started our center, Steve, in 2003. We'd gotten a $1 million endowment from an entrepreneur alum. And fast forward to today, We have 18 courses in entrepreneurship. We have 2 entrepreneurship business contests. We have an Entrepreneur Hall of Fame dinner in which we induct successful alumni entrepreneurs into that. We award a student or young alum an Emerging Entrepreneur Award. We have about 50 entrepreneurs coming to campus every year to hang out with our students and share their knowledge. The essence of an entrepreneur: can do. Dream it, do it. It's an empowerment. We have alumni entrepreneurs who are sharing their knowledge with our student entrepreneurs. And Steve, I have to tell you, I've been doing this now about 13 years. The last 2 years, I have been totally blown away by what I can only term the Shark Tank generation.
The Shark Tank generation, what do you mean by that?
Well, as we all know, the popular show Shark Tank, and there's many shows that are like that. Students today, they want to be entrepreneurs. They want to change the world. Sure, they want to make money, everybody does. You want to get a good job after college. But more than that, they have passion. They see something that needs fixing in the world, either on a social entrepreneurship level, which is solving a problem in the community, or they want to create a product or a service, and they feel very empowered to do that.
You see that?
Unbelievable.
Any difference between men and young women in this regard? Or both across the board you see it?
Well, typically there are more young men, and just men in general, who are entrepreneurs. There are fewer women. But I have to tell you that the teens and young adults and students in their 20s who are coming up the ranks, I don't see that much different.
You don't?
With the ones who are really running businesses. Now, I do see a difference in that some young women are more hesitant to get involved in entrepreneurship. And I have to tell you, I ride them pretty hard. I say, get out there, do your idea. You're just as good as anyone else. You've got to get out and just really try it. It's, in a lot of ways, entrepreneurship is like a contact sport. You just got to get out on the field.
It's funny, people, how often do we know, and my wife's actually just, as we're doing this, starting a business and it's growing and she's in it. And she'll often, we'll talk about this and I'll try not to get too aggressive with my own ideas, because she's great at what she does and I can have this controlling thing, but that's another show. I'm bringing a psychologist for that. My point is, there's no substitute for being in it, making your mistakes, learning from them. It is a contact sport. And people who want to analyze and talk about it but not do it, they're not entrepreneurs.
Steve, you're so right. When I first started in this field about 10, 13 years ago, the model for a successful entrepreneur was basically you went to college, maybe graduate school, you got out, worked for a big company, say like AT&T. You might see, something that wasn't being addressed in your industry. Then you might go out on your own. You had a lot of industry knowledge, and that's how you grew your company.
Today?
The opposite. That what we're finding through academic research is that the younger you start to be an entrepreneur, the better off you are. By the time you get to college, some of our students who are launching their own businesses, they've already had 3 or 4 businesses. They've started when they were 12. And maybe they weren't so successful in that, baking dog biscuit business. But by the time they get to college, they have figured out, they've learned from their mistakes, because a big part of entrepreneurship is failure. You learn from your mistakes. And you've got to get out there and be part of that game. Now, there's also theory. We try to facilitate an entrepreneurial mindset. A big part of entrepreneurship is opportunity recognition. How do you look around your universe, and how do you see a problem that needs fixing?
I call it connecting the dots.
Exactly.
How do you teach connecting the dots, being that strategic in your ability to see what others don't see? Is that teachable? Well,
it's true that some people are born entrepreneurs, but yes, you can teach those qualities. You teach that opportunity recognition, that can-do spirit. A lot of it, I think, is coaching and role models. Those 2 elements, I think, are more important than anything.
Which is why you bring a lot of entrepreneurs in to talk about their experience.
Exactly. And I think it's very important at a university that you bring in your own alum, Because if a student sees someone who's now a very successful entrepreneur who sat in the same desk and seats and maybe even had some of the same professors that you are having now, that's inspiring you. That's giving you confidence to say, you know what, I think I can do that too. Now, the other important thing, a lot of people say that entrepreneurs are stopped because they don't have enough funds.
I don't have the capital.
Right.
You say? I
say no way. What you need more than anything is great coaching. You need a sounding board. Now, one of the biggest mistakes that young entrepreneurs say is, I have a wonderful idea. No one has ever thought of this idea before. But if I tell you, you're going to steal that idea.
That's a mistake because?
Because if I've thought of that idea, Steve, you've probably also thought of that great idea. And it's really execution and getting to market. But you also need to tell selected, trusted advisors about your idea and get feedback for that idea. And so what we have at the Stillman School and throughout the university, we have our students working one-on-one with some of the most successful entrepreneurs in the state. And which a lot of people know about the Stillman School and Seton Hall in general, is that the alumni are very, very involved. If I send an email to an entrepreneur who's running a big company and say, will you meet with, a student? I get an email back in 5 or 10 minutes. Yes, of course.
They give.
Exactly. And so we really leverage that strength at our university. So our students are being coached by very successful entrepreneurs. We're always trying to make connections. Oh, this industry, who we know in this industry,
Again,
that
connecting
industry.
dots. By the way, I know you have a lot of competition, high school and college competitions as well. There's a pirate pitch that goes along as well. By the way, people know the website. You put up the website, team. Nicole, did we do that? So people can go on your website to find out. At the Center for Entrepreneurial Studies, Stillman School of Business, Seton Hall University. Susan Scherreik is the founding director, and I should say that I have taught at Seton Hall and will be again next year. And I'm proud to be connected to that wonderful institution. And just not at your place. I just wanted to fully disclose that. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
It's a pleasure to be here, Steve. Thank you.
You got it. Stay with us. We'll be right back right after this. That was well done.
To see more one-on-one with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at steveadubato.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato PhD, and follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
This is Steve Adubato on location, but more importantly, it is my honor to speak to Dr. Dean Bonita Stanton, who is the founding dean of Seton Hall Hackensack Meridian School of Medicine. Dean, we are here on the site that in July of 2018, this School of Medicine will open. How exciting.
It is tremendously exciting. We still have our work to do ahead of us to turn that into a reality, but it is unbelievably exciting, and it has been a pure joy so far.
You've been in medicine and research for a few years, and talk to us about what it is about this place that drew you here, but also more importantly, what you see for the people of the state and this region moving forward.
My career has been in large measure focused on health inequity. And in the United States, we have the largest inequity in health outcomes of any of the industrialized nations. That means that overall our health indices are poor compared to the other industrialized nations, but it is not that our upper half income bracket isn't doing just fine. They're doing quite well, not as good as some of the nations, but quite well. It is the lower income half who is doing very, very poorly. And there is no reason for that. That does not have to happen in the United States. It is not that we're not putting enough money into it. Indeed, we are putting far more money into our health care system in the United States than the other industrialized nations. I'm not talking about all nations. So clearly, we're not spending our dollars right. And we haven't had a kind of focus on what is going wrong. Where are the problems with not just our health delivery system, there has been some look at that, but also our health education system. And so that is what it is so meaningful to me, as someone whose whole career has been looking at inequities, to have this chance to create a medical school who will, along with a couple of our sister medical schools, begin the process of delivering the kind of health care the U.S. deserves so that we have good health outcomes.
So, Dean, let me follow up on that. Describe one academic research activity that you see taking place here that could help bridge that gap, make some progress, and change the kind of situation that is totally unacceptable by any reasonable standard in this great country.
Sure.
Loaded question, I know.
No, this is a great question, and it's the kind of question I wish more people were asking themselves. So you might ask, well, what's causing these differences in health outcomes? And interestingly, if you look at infants, I'm a pediatrician. Yes. If you look at infants, in their first month of life, there is no real difference in the rates of mortality in the first month between high-income and low-income infants in the United States. It is when they leave the hospital that you begin to see huge divergence. So if you're born very premature with some congenital anomaly, you're probably going to end up in a hospital and you're going to get pretty good care. It's once you go out into the community that things begin to fall apart. And that is because health and wellness occur in the community. They don't occur in the hospital. They don't even occur in the doctor's office. And we have not been training our physicians. We have not been training the other persons that we work with.
The allied professionals in the medical field.
Professionals, exactly. To think about health and to think about illness as it is outside of your office, outside of your hospital. And that's what we need to focus our medical students' attention on. And so we will begin in the week one with focusing them at all times on, okay, what's going out in the community? And getting them to think constantly, regardless of what aspect of medicine they're going into. I'm not talking about we need more primary care. I'm saying every single doctor must be thinking about when he leaves my operating room, when she leaves my radiation therapy session, what reality does she face at home, and what do we need to do to mitigate the adverse aspects and to maximize the positive aspects of community?
Dean, that's incredible empathy. That's really thinking about the other, in this case, the patient's experience outside of my treating that patient. That's extraordinary.
Well, thank you. But that's what every physician should be able to be doing, because that's part of the real joy of being a physician. That's part of the humility, the excitement, the idea that we can go all the way through to the core, not just of a family, but of a person, and understand what shoes they're walking in, and make sure that we've improved that footage, that wearing, so that their life can have the same quality that we would want for ourselves.
Let me follow up on that. Teaching that empathy. I talked to Dr. Jeff Boskamp about this a little bit, but you've lived this as well. The ability to teach empathy, emotional intelligence, as Dr. Daniel Goleman coined that expression a few years back. Is it that you're bringing in students who you believe are more inclined to have some of it, or is it teaching it, or is it all of the above?
It's all of the above. In the health professions, we are fortunate in that we seem to attract people innately that are more inclined to be empathetic. But what can happen in the health professions? I mean, remember, these are still growing, maturing people. They're in their young 20s. Their brains haven't solidified yet. Is that we can increase their capacity for empathy, or we can shut it off. And we need to be conscious of that, the way we teach in a medical school. And I don't mean just the experience of doctors teaching doctors. I mean, having our students watch us as we relate to our peers, as we relate to other health professionals, as we relate to everyone in our staff. Having them spend time where they're in the homes, walking again, as I mentioned, in the shoes of these patients, so they understand these are not lazy people. These are not people who are ignorant. These are people whose circumstances make it impossible for them to get to that appointment at 2 o'clock, that make it tremendously difficult to wait outside in a bus line that is for a bus where the line is chaotic and it doesn't always come. And by the way, there hasn't been electricity on that street for some time. So that's why we want them to have these experiences, to befriend these families. I've been lucky. That has been a large part of my professional life, spending a lot of time in communities.
Bangladesh.
In Bangladesh.
Several years.
5 years in Bangladesh, many, many years in the low-income parts in the United States, where, yes, Bangladesh, obviously the situation was far worse, but where things are not very good, and where we need our students I think that phrase of think globally, act locally is so important.
Thank you, Dean. All the best.
Thank you so much for being interested in our school. It's been a pleasure.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by TD Bank, Suez, Partners for Health Foundation, the Russell Berry Foundation, ShopRite Supermarkets, the Northward Center, and by Gary's Wine and Marketplace. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area. One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been produced in partnership with TriStar Studios.
At Gary's Wine and Marketplace, planning parties is our business. Our associates can work with you to plan the details. We offer an assortment of wine, beer, spirits, cheeses, party platters, accessories, and more. 4 locations in New Jersey and at garyswine.com.